Hi, in this video I'll be going over how to add moving averages to an indicator plot in Thinkorswim. Let's jump into an agenda here. Start off with disclaimers, then jump into why. From there we'll transition to steps to add in the moving averages to the indicator plot, and then saving the styles to bring it up when needed. So the next thing up is going over disclaimers. I'm not a financial planner or investment advisor, and I'm not offering any advice. I'm also not a representative of Schwab or Thinkorswim. Any comment that might be interpreted as an endorsement or criticism is my sole opinion and should be dismissed as such. I'm not trying to sell or promote anything with this video. The purpose of this video is to help me avoid spending excess time recreating the same process again in the future. A secondary reason for making this video is to help anyone who might be looking to create the same process. Hopefully this video can save you some time and effort. That being said, I'm not an expert Thinkorswim user. I'm evaluating the platform to determine if I should replace my current charting software with the Thinkorswim platform. If you choose to use the contents of this video, you will need to double check the results to make sure they're consistent with what you're looking for. Again, I'm not an expert Thinkorswim user. I'm only human, likely to make mistakes, so question everything you see in this video. I think the last thing I would mention is that I'm not trying to generate a YouTube following, become an influencer, or endorse or sell anything. As a result, this video will have little, if any, editing. So I guess we can now move to why. I'm interested in a relative strength indicator, and I'd like to have some moving averages in that plot. Being that I'm new to the platform, I felt it took me way too long to figure out how to add the moving averages. And if I need something similar in the future, hopefully this video can help me cut down how long it takes to sort of add an MA to an indicator. So I guess we can jump straight to the steps. One of the first things you need to do is figure out what code you're going to need. I'm not an expert coder by any stretch. I rely actually heavily on AI platforms. So I asked AI to generate the code needed to add a moving average to an existing indicator, and it copied the result. In this case, it gave me for an RSI indicator. Just for clarity, RSI is relative strength index, which is not the same as relative strength. For details, I suggest you look that up. But we'll come back to this. There'll be some edits. As I've usually mentioned, AI is a great place to start, but you always need to double check. In this specific query I made, I specifically was vague with the starting indicator because I thought it would help me highlight the differences between relative strength and what the AI code was putting out, and I thought it would make it easier for me to figure out where I needed to edit. So what first thing we need to do is go to a chart. Since we are looking at relative strength, the S&P 500 might not be the best chart to add this to, simply because it would compare the result to itself. So it should just give a constant value. So I'm just going to pick that stock's been on my mind recently. And then I like bigger bars, so I'm just going to zoom in just so that the bars look bigger. I just like how that looks a little better. So we're in the charts tab. We pulled up a stock, and then what we want to do is add studies. So we need a starting point, and since we're going to be adding moving averages to relative strength, we need the code for relative strength to begin with. So simply find it. I double click and it adds it in, and you want to copy the code. So you can go here on the left and it will let you sort of edit what exists. In this case, we're just simply going to copy the code for the relative strength indicator. So highlight it, hit Control C, then we're going to cancel, and we're going to get rid of that. So because we're adding a moving average, the standard indicator that comes with Thinkorswim doesn't have the moving averages, and I wasn't sure how to add it in. So what we're going to do is just simply we're going to create a new one, and then we're going to delete the existing code that is there, and we're going to paste in what we copied. So essentially what we have is the relative strength indicator right here, but we want to add moving averages to that. So that's where we go back to what our AI platform generated for us. And in this case, I was vague, as I'd mentioned. I thought this would help me find differences where I need to change from what AI generated and what I needed. So we're gonna just copy that, hit Control C, we'll shrink that down, and then we'll paste it in. So whenever you put in code, anything that comes up in red is sort of a problem within ThinkStrip. And we can see right away that what we have is a plot for what AI gave us was for RSI, which is relative strength indicator. We're looking at relative strength. They're completely different. They're different. So we'll need to make some changes here. So just to be a little bit more consistent with this, we're going to change the name of the plot. Instead of average RSI, we're going to go with average RS for relative strength. And I'm going to add in two moving averages. So there will be the relative strength short, which I'll do just do as well. Let's just go ahead and spell it right. Moving average. So it clearly doesn't like this, and part of the problem is we don't have a plot SI up here. What we have is relative strength, which is plot RS. And then it doesn't like that we have plot here. So what we're going to do is just get rid of that, and then it should be happy. So the length that I want is not actually 14 bars. I would like it to be 21 bars for the daily, and that will put it in. We need a way to identify this, so we're just going to give it a color. So the other thing I asked AI to do was how do we code for a specific color, and what it did, again, it sort of picked RSI as a default, so we just simply copy what AI generated for us and paste it underneath. Again, in this case, we need to change from average RSI. What we have is average RS short, so we're going to get rid of that A short. And then it says the default color to red. I would actually like it to be yellow, so we're going to change red and just type in yellow. Now this will start out with specific shade of yellow that as Thinkorswim has defined. Don't worry about this. We can change the shade a little bit later. As I'd mentioned, I wanted to add two moving averages, a short moving average and then a longer moving average. So all we're going to do is simply copy this previous code that adds that in, and we'll paste it below. But instead of RS short, see, it doesn't like it because I'm referring to it twice. This will be my long. And then I don't want it for 21. I would like this one to be 50. Again, we need to give it a color. So we're just simply going to copy this where we added the yellow for the R is short. We're going to paste that in. Just a little unhappy because we're repeating the same request. We're just going to change it so it now refers to our long one. And instead of yellow, I would like this to be blue. Now it should be okay with everything. I'm going to add in a couple notes to myself just so that if I ever have to revisit this, this could help guide me. And I'm just going to say code above this line is the code for relative strength from Thinkorswim. So simply putting in hashtags lets the code know to ignore everything. Um, then we're going to add another one, say code below this line was added into insert short and long MAs. Okay, so this tells me this will just, if I ever need to refer back to this and say, okay, this is the standard relative strength, I probably don't want to mess with that. And everything down here is what I added in. So if I'm going to troubleshoot, it's probably going to be in this area. So with that already added, we're just simply going to hit, we want to change the name. So what we have, let's just call it relative strength underscore 21 underscore 50, and then we'll just say moving averages, and we'll click OK. What we'll do is we'll hit apply so that we can get a rough idea of what this looks like. So you can see that we'll just hit OK, and then if we want to edit it, let's say we're not happy with the shades of the colors, for instance, maybe this blue is a little too dark, what we can do is we can click on the chart. In this case, just click on it. We're going to right click and we're going to edit the study, and then you can see here that the relative strength is showing up as green. The ratio, and I believe that that's some ratio with respect to the timeline. I typically don't like that, so I am going to get rid of that red line. We'll just hit apply, and you should see this red line disappear, which is constant. So average relative strength short, again, this is the shorter 21. This came up as yellow. Maybe I want that a little bit wider. Just to help me highlight that that's a little bit different. So it'll be the moving average. And as I mentioned, this blue is a little too dark. I'd like maybe a lighter shade of blue. So what I did is I just simply clicked on the color, selected more, and we can see different shades of blue. You can simply click on one. Maybe that's a little bit better. Let's try that. We'll hit apply, and maybe we can pick something a little bit lighter. Let's try that one. Hit OK and apply, and that'll work for me. So we'll make that also a bit thicker. What did I do the last one? That's also 2. Let's just go ahead and make the relative strength indicator 2 as well. So we have that here. There's a couple ways this can be displayed. I can actually move this up to the price bar. To do that, we would simply again come back here, and we would simply drag this up so it's in the same, should show up in the same pane as the price, and then we'll hit apply. Let's see what that looks like. While it's nice that it's in there, and you'll notice that it moved the scale for the relative strength to the left, it seems to overlap with the price a little too much. I don't like that. It would be nice if I could slide all of it down, but I don't know how to do that. I can adjust how far it spreads, so maybe having it in the same pane as the price might not be the best. So what I'll do is I will simply drag this back down so it's in a lower pane. We'll hit apply, and then we can see that. I really don't like that the volume is kind of in the way. I'd like this maybe to be a little closer. So one of the things that we can do is get rid of this volume. In fact, as I think about this, I usually use this scan or this indicator when I'm scanning through a list of stocks. I like to look at if the relative strength is sloping upwards, which would indicate it's outperforming the S&P 500, and also to see how it's doing against its shorter term and longer term moving averages. So not only do I like it to go up, I like it to be above both those averages. Um, so I typically use that to screen through a lot of lists. I'll save the ones I like, delete the ones I don't. So I really don't need volume bars when I'm utilizing this. So a way to get rid of that is you can simply go up to the gear icon. Since this is for stocks, we're going to pick equities. And then I don't want the volume bars to be visible anymore. And then we'll just hit apply, and you'll see at this pane, or I guess it's called a subgraph, should disappear, and it does. Then here we can simply maybe adjust this as we like. Yeah, that's a bit better. Um, so the last thing to do here is to save this style. I believe it's referred to as a style. Yeah, with the charts here, style, we're going to go to styles, opens up a new, and we're going to save this style. So what we're going to do, call it is simply uh, price with RS and 2150. This is for day. I use these numbers for the day daily charts. Daily MA. And just say no volume. Oh, looks like we only have 35. Change price, relative strength. We'll simply put an underscore, daily MAs, no volume, and we can save that. So if I'm ever in a different style and I need to pull this up, I would simply go to here, select style, I would load a style, and then it shows up right here. So I could pull that up. Okay, that's it. Thanks.